Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel again. It's Scriptures for Living. The last time we did this, we talked from Genesis chapter 7. Today I'm going to be speaking from Genesis chapter 9. I'm going to be reading the first 17 verses of chapter 9. Alright, so this is the passage I'm going to be talking about briefly this afternoon in this episode. Now, let's just quickly look at the overview of this text we just read. God blesses Noah and his sons, instruct them to repopulate the earth, and established a covenant with them. This covenant is what we call the Noahic covenant. I know you must have heard the Adamic covenant, the Noahic covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, the Mosaic covenant, and the Davidic covenant, and then the new covenant, which is the covenant that God made with us as a result of what Jesus Christ has done for us, as a result of the blood that was shed on the cross. Even though generally we look at Old Testament, New Testament, and all of that, but all these covenants of the Old Testament we have them from the Adamic covenant till the Davidic covenant. All right, so we also have the Mosaic covenant. I think I mentioned that, and the Abrahamic covenant. All right, so but this particular covenant was the covenant that Lord made with Noah. And what stands out from the covenant God made with Noah is the rainbow. Rainbow is that symbol of the covenant. Whenever rainbow is displayed on the skies, we remember the covenant God made with Noah. And it's an eternal covenant. Like I read in the scriptures, it's an eternal covenant that God made. Verse 16 says, when I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth. All right, so God established a covenant with man. All right, so humanity, these are the major things I want us to look at. Humanity receives a new beginning. Humanity receives a new beginning. Now, after the whole world had been destroyed, the very same thing God told Adam was what he told Noah. And what was that thing? Be fruitful and multiply. The exact same instruction he gave to Adam, it was what he gave to Noah. In other words, now that the entire world has been destroyed and we don't have that populace, we wanted to replicate what Adam did that made us have the large number of persons that were destroyed. We wanted to replicate that same thing. Go ahead and multiply. Your children should have more children. Your children's children should continue the same thing that your children will do, and let's have human beings everywhere, all over the world. So it says, be fruitful and multiply. Now, the exact same word God spoke in Genesis 1:28, just like I said the other time, is what He's speaking now. And the mission of God for humanity was restored. It was almost looking like uttered, and I know the devil was very, very happy. At that time that God was very angry and he was grieved. The devil was so happy that yes, destroy everybody. God just looked and said, you think you are smart? I know what I am doing. I'm not going to destroy the entire body. I'm going to reserve some, but I'm going to preserve some that would keep what I have already had in mind from the beginning. So you see, God is not a fool. God is not just the wisest, because you can't compare with any wise person. He is the only wise God. He knew everything. He knows everything. There's nothing anybody can do to outsmart him. God cannot be outsmarted. God is smart already. He is God already on his own. He's wise already on his own. And nobody's wisdom can be compared to his own by any stretch of thoughts. It's way incomparable. All right, so God restores humanity's mission. Second is that the sanctity of human life. Now it talks about whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. Why? Because he is made in the image of God. The life that we have is a dignified life. We human beings are dignified beings. So even if a human being is, I now remember a situation that happened early 2024. A woman was killed by a lion in OAU Zoo, the Obafemi Awolowo University in Lagos. I'm sorry, in Ilefe, in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. There was this case of a woman that usually goes to take care of them and give them meat and all of that. This very day, The person that will leave the zoo, the lions, where the lion stays, person that left his house is then where he stays, did not remember to lock the door. So he left the place without locking the door. So by the time this woman was going to come and give the animals food, thinking that by the time she will just go to where the place is, locked inside there, just throw the meat at it and come outside. The lion came, because the gate was not locked. The gate to where the lion was itself was not locked. So the lion came out, strolling outside. So by the time this woman was going to enter, thinking that we'll go to where the door was locked inside to give the meat, she met the lion coming out, towards her. So this lion came across her and tore her apart and killed her. I can't remember whether it's a woman or a man now, but the person that usually goes to take care of this lion, the lion killed this person and then it tore her apart and all of those things. So it was very, very terrible thing. The news went viral and all of that. Now this is where I'm going. The lion was shot dead. And from what I know, that lion was the only lion in the zoo. So they could have thought of letting it stay so that it can preserve, because these wild animals are now going into extinction. And one of the things they are trying to do is to ensure that we have at least one, we have some of them reproducing so that these lions don't go into extinction completely. So they could have preserved the life of this lion. But if they keep seeing this lion, they will remember that this lion killed one of our staff. So what they did is to also put the life of this lion to death, and let's end the life of the lion too. Since you killed, our staff, we should also kill him. So when I was reading that portion of the scriptures, I just remember that story. I just remember what happened that time. So human beings are so special. Even if it is an animal that killed the human being, that animal must be killed. Humans are so special to God that He gave a decree that if a human being is killed by a human being, that woman must be killed. And if a human being is killed by an animal, that animal must be killed. And whatever it is that caused the death of the human being, as long as it is not sickness, that same person must be killed. That same animal must be killed. Whoever is responsible for the death of a human being must also die. And the reason given is that the image of God is man. Man is the image of God. It's a representation of God. So if you take away the life of a human being, it's like you are saying that you do not respect what God has made in His very. When you say in the image of God, it's like we have the characteristics of God. And whenever He looks at man, He sees Himself in man. He sees Himself in man. So when a man's life is taken, it's like you have taken what is precious to God. All right. So human beings are very, very, very special. They are they are sanctified, they are holy, they are kept specially for God. And it's good for us to know this. God gives man a new beginning, and God values the life of man so much, right? So the third point is that the rainbow as covenant sign. The rainbow as covenant sign. So what do we see there? You see that verse 13, which I read to us the other time, it says, I set my rainbow in the cloud. Verse 13, I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is the sign of my covenant with you and with all the earth. So that's, like I mentioned at that time, the rainbow is the sign of the covenant that the Lord has made, that He will never destroy the earth with waters. And that rainbow symbolizes God's mercy after judgment. After judgment had been proclaimed, after He had been patient and judgment had to come, He still said, okay, there's a tendency for me to be grieved again with what human beings can do, but I'm going to do something that will make me know that I am not going to destroy. So He says, okay, for with water, Babu, I'm not going to destroy the earth with waters anymore. All right, so what are the things that we are going to apply here? What are the things that we should take note of as we bring this particular session to a close? Every rainbow is a reminder of God's mercy. Every rainbow is a reminder of God's mercy. When you see the rainbow, what comes to your mind? And when we see every creature that God made, what comes to our mind? When you see the trees, when you see the waters, when you see waterfall, when you see fountains, when you go on excursion and you see creatures. When you go to the zoo and you see lions, zebras, you see tortoise. Is it tortoise they call it now? Tortoise. And you see snake, and you see cobra, and you see those big animals. What comes to your mind? When you see rainbow, what comes to your mind? It's telling us this month, this day, this period, that whenever you see rainbow, think of God's mercy, because rainbow actually is a picture of God's decision to forever be merciful to us. So when we see the rainbow, we should remember that God was merciful. God was merciful on the earth, and the world may have done things worse than even the time of Noah, but because of his promise never to destroy the world by water, he has always remained merciful. Now, human life must be treated with sacred respect. Human life must be treated with sacred respect. Human beings should not eat human beings. No matter how hungry and desperate you are, you want to eat. I know there are places where people eat human beings, but how do you eat a fellow human being? Dogs can even eat bones of dogs. Chickens can even eat whatever from chickens, which I don't think really happens. But human beings should not eat human beings, because humans are God's special possession. And because we have the understanding, and our logic is functioning properly, our mental ability, our intellect is functioning at the maximum. In fact, the scripture says that we have been placed even above the angels because of what Christ has done. Whatever Christ happened to Christ happened to us also. And as Christ is seated in the heavenlies, we are also seated with him. And we have been placed now above principalities and power. Even angelic realm is lower than our realm. So why should we bring ourselves to be thinking like animals that are even far below our realm? If animals are eating other animals or eating grasses and all, we should not eat fellow animals. That is why we have fruits. That is why we have fish. That is why we have, even though originally when God created the earth, he didn't make man to be eating animals. I know I read that portion. It was when God, now verse 3 of that same passage that we've read, that's chapter 9, says, I have given them to you for food. 2 says, all the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the small animals that scurry along the ground, all the fish in the sea will look on you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grain and vegetables. So initially he gave them grain and vegetables only to eat. It was at this time that he was now giving them the freedom to now eat. But he didn't ask any man to eat animal, and he didn't ask man to have dominion over fellow human beings. He only gave us the power to have dominion over situations and circumstances that are contrary to God's mind for us. He has given us dominion over sin, over everything, both abstract and sin, but not over one another, not over fellow human beings. So humans are so special to God. They are sacred. They are special to God. We are not to treat ourselves with indifference, even to the point of eating fellow human beings. You see a dead body and you cut the flesh and you eat it, whether it's even a dead body before you eat it, this is fellow human being. No, that shouldn't happen. And then the last thing is, God is a covenant keeping God. And this is what I would like to say on this matter of God being a covenant keeping God. God is a covenant keeping God. If he says a thing, he's faithful to it. Remember 1 Timothy chapter 3. Even when we are unfaithful, that's the only place where we see God remains faithful. When God speaks, he stands by what he has said. So what has God spoken over your life that you are very sure and confident about? That you know this is God that spoke about this to me. No matter how long it looks, no matter how long it feels, no matter how it seems like this thing is tiring, let us believe the Lord that what God has said will come to pass. Because if God has said it, because of his nature as a covenant keeping God, he will make it happen. So thank you so much for listening to me this time around. I appreciate you coming around to watch again today, and I wish you well. I want to encourage you to like this video, make a comment. If you are blessed by this session, you can ask a question or drop a comment that could edify others, even from some of the things that we didn't even mention, but that you see from this passage. You can then subscribe, share our video, and then click the notification button so that whenever the video is dropped here, you can be notified You can check. We are trying to go through the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation as God will help us. And I'm sure we are eating some parts of the scripture that sometimes they are looking boring, but there's still a message to learn from it. And we'll also get to the part where we can really see much more to say. However, follow us and see how we can both be blessed together. Thank you again and have a wonderful week. Bye bye.